If your coach leads you to your first 10-win season in program history, sign that man. Today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you guys that do listen every single day. You guys make the world go round. I couldn't appreciate you enough. If you're listening on the podcast waves or you're watching with us here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to, review, rate the show, whatever it is. It helps the show out immensely, and it helps us to prove that once and for all, it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. All right. We got a big game tonight, and that's going to help propel us towards that cardinal and gold painting of the state of Iowa, of course. But we got to start small. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, we got a few things we got to break down today. Obviously, the game, will do that in the second segment, and then some departures and some offers that have been made in the transfer portal world. We'll dive into that in the third segment. But first things first, huge news coming out of the football world for the Cyclones right now. Matt Campbell signs an 8-year extension, will be with the Cyclones through 2032. Going to be, immense. You know, that's literally the only word that comes to mind when I see that headline. I don't have any financial details for you right now, unfortunately. I don't know if they'll ever be released. I don't really know much about that whole front. I looked for them, couldn't find them. Just got to look at the whole thing at face value here. To me, this is the best signing Iowa State could have made. You can pick any player out of a hat. I don't think that they would do as much for the program as Matt Campbell will do in the next 8 years, because for one, probably won't be here 8 years. I mean, it's not impossible the way college athletics works right now, but I would have to assume they wouldn't. And number two, Matt Campbell's already done mountains of work for the Cyclones. We've seen him do it. So I don't doubt that he can continue to do that. Matt Campbell, the winningest head coach in Cyclone history, I believe, unless things have changed since the last time I checked. First coach to lead the Cyclones to 5 straight winning seasons. So that's another big one. And then obviously this year with the 10-win season for the first time, as well as the Big 12 championship appearance, did it in 2020 as well. Obviously we didn't win this Big 12 championship. Like, by now, this is pretty clear. Okay, we've kind of talked too much about the Cyclones losing this Big 12 championship game. And that's a disappointment. It is. But I think that the bigger thing, when you look at the season as a whole, as we've done over and over, nobody expected Iowa State to be in that game. Okay, nobody expected Iowa State to make noise this year. I was hopeful for sure, but nobody expected even Iowa State to beat Iowa. Not that anyone ever does. So the fact that Matt Campbell was able to turn this team into a 10-win season and a Big 12 championship contender and a college football playoff contender. We were a game away from making the college football playoff. To me, that's remarkable. To me, that is a sign of a very good head coach and a very good culture that's been put in place. And I'm excited to see that Jamie Pollard recognized that and said, you know what? Let's put pen to paper right now. Let's not let things get dicey. Let's not let NFL teams look at this guy and say, oh, well, he was able to turn this, shell, I guess, of a program into 2, Big 12 championships in 5 years type of deal. The first 10-win season in history. We want him out here in Detroit, in 2021. Detroit was making the calls. Okay, we know that this has happened in the past. We want him out here in LA. We want him over here in Boston, whatever. You name a town. So, I'm glad that Jamie Pollard found, a way to get. And I don't think Matt Campbell was one that had to be persuaded, so I don't want to make it sound that way. I think Matt's excited, or Mr. Campbell is probably what I should be calling him, is excited to be here in Ames. I think he realizes that this is where he's made his mark, And this is where he, I guess, works the best, right? I'm sure he loves his corner office. I'm assuming he has one. Doesn't want to give that up. Don't blame him. So I don't want to make it sound like it was like a convincing situation for Jamie to get Matt to stay, but I do think that Matt, signing early, Jamie getting that contract written up for the 8-year extension was big. So we don't have to mess around with this, next year. And I mean, for 8 years, 8 whole years, we are locked in on the Matt Campbell ride. And in my opinion, it's one of the best rides in the theme park. I love the little bill of his hat there. Like we've reached another level of excuse me, of Cyclone football, and I'm forever grateful for what Matt has done for the team. That culture he's built of everyone is together. It's a team environment. It's win together, lose together type of deal, and it's really all thanks to how Matt has approached the team as a whole. There was reports this year, I've said it quite a few times, that the ego is now out of the locker room. And I think really that comes from Matt Campbell himself, because obviously he's the one coaching the players, in the meetings, in the locker room, on the practice field, on game day. He's the one that is directly, the head coach of this team consistently over and over all day, every day. But he's also the one that has an OC and a DC and a special teams coach. All of those guys are also working directly with the players consistently as well. And Matt obviously works with those guys, on the side, because he's got to get everyone on the same page. That's how football works. But if he's got guys that are coaching the players on a more micro level that don't necessarily align with his values, that's going to create tension. And Matt has never had, I mean, to my knowledge, it looks like Matt's got all that under control, which is not a coincidence. And he knows what he's doing. So it's not just Matt giving the message to the players and the players taking it and running with it. It's a whole organization that Matt Campbell has built here in Ames. And the way that everything is run is, I would say 90% of the way things are run is a direct product of the way Matt Campbell wants it to be run. I'm sure that some of the small details here and there he's not involved with. But for the most part, Matt Campbell, in every way, shape, and form, has turned Cyclones into an actual real-life football program. Beat Iowa, Big 12 championship, 10-win season. We're here. We are officially, I don't know if you can say back, but we're back. Okay, and now Matt Campbell's here through 2032. I couldn't be more pumped. I know that for certain. Now, that being said, we need to beat Iowa over those next 8 years. Okay, we have to, in my opinion. We got to get this rivalry tilting towards the Cyclones. And though it isn't a football game, there will be a basketball game tonight in which the Cyclones can attempt to do just that. We'll break that down right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. The game going down in Carver Hawkeye Arena. If you want to get tickets, I know where I would go to get tickets. It's got to be Gametime. Okay, Gametime has multiple different features that sets itself apart from the rest of anything else out there. Number one, being able to see your seat. Okay, from the app, you can see the actual view that you will get when you take a seat in the stadium or in the arena or wherever you're going to be getting. Because, this isn't only for football tickets. No, Gametime's not just football, not just basketball. You can get tickets to comedy shows. You can get tickets to all sorts of events across the country, live and in person. This is the best place to do it. They also offer an all-in pricing feature that shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. I think that's I just can't do fees in my head. So to me, that's a big one. Personally, I that's why Gametime is the best. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, Iowa versus Iowa State going down in Carver, Not going to say the second portion there, Arena, because this is Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And boy, this game is going to be fun. All Cyclone Hawkeye showdowns are, all Cyhawk games are, whether it be in wrestling, basketball, football. Do we have a sledding department? I don't know. If we did, I know it would certainly be must-watch TV. Now, this game in particular, obviously, we're looking at a number 3 Iowa State versus an unranked Iowa. Overall, I believe the metrics show that Iowa State is going to win this game by 68%, 70% almost of the analytics. That's kind of the mark here that we're looking at, which I don't hate that. I don't think that's a bad number. There's always going to, in my opinion, rivalry games always going to be close. Rivalry games always going to leave that back door open for either team to win it. And that's just kind of how they work in general. And I think a perfect example of that was just last night when the Cyhawk basketball games, I don't know how you want to put it, kicked off. The women played on Wednesday night. And unfortunately, the Cyclones did lose as the 18th ranked team in the nation to Iowa, the 21st ranked team in the nation. As I said, leaves that back door open sometimes. That's just going to happen. Overall, quick takeaways on this game. I thought this one was a very interesting, very fun one to watch. It looked like Audie Crooks could not really be stopped. She just seemed to get open whenever she wanted to. Okay. It was just like, hey, can I have it? Can I have the rock real quick? I'm just going to make a quick 2 points. Boom. All right, let's move on. Let's keep the game moving. Like, it was actually insane the way she just had the ability to score. And then also Iowa State and some of our guards up top being able to get the ball to her was that's obviously pivotal. And those passes just seem to be on point. This game, from a 3-point perspective, we shot 46% and Iowa shot 32%. So technically we did win in the percent department, but Iowa shot 25 threes to Iowa State's 15. So they technically made more threes with a less percentage there. They made 8 to our 7. And I think this was a big portion of the game, being that Iowa, whenever they ended up kind of falling behind by a few, would just chuck a few threes up and basically make them. Didn't love that, but that's what kept them in this game. I thought they were sound on offense for sure, but their strength seemed to somehow be the 3-point game. And I said on Tuesday that Sydney Folter was going to be potentially a problem for the Hawkeyes, as she has struggled early this year. She didn't necessarily struggle. She shot 6 of 11 and 3 of 6 from 3 points, the 3-point arc. That's a lot of S's. She shot 6 of 11 and 3 for 6. Whew. So I guess shout out to her for the tongue twister there, keeping me on my toes. I'm not worried about the Cyclones team. I think we're still very good. There are a few minor, just little takeaways that I had, but overall, I think this team is really good. And Audie Crooks is a certified baller. We know that for sure. The Hawkeyes, on the other hand, will probably be, a Sweet 16 type of team, but I don't know if they'll get much done beyond that. You can take that as bulletin board material, Hawkeyes, if you'd like, but also keep in mind it's coming from a Cyclone fan. So what do you really expect at this point? Now let's pivot over to the men. Let's stop reminiscing on the lone Hawkeye win at this point. There's obviously a few key players in this game moving forward for the men tonight. In my opinion, Joshua Jefferson is the biggest Cyclone that's going to play a big role. Keyshawn Gilbert, obviously huge as well, but Jefferson is the one that I'm going to turn my attention towards. Yes, Gilbert does lead the team in points and assists, but Jefferson is our rebounder, sitting at 7.8 rebounds per game, 6.1 on defense, 1.6 on offense. Not bad at all. Freeman for the Hawkeyes is kind of their dude. Owen Freeman on the boards. He averages 7 rebounds a game, 4.8 on offense, 2.3, or 4.8 on defense, 2.3 on offense. So that less rebounds per game, but somehow more offensive rebounds. I guess that's a little, I would look out for Iowa second chance points. They're going to need it. They're going to need second chances in this game. That's for sure. When you look at leading scorers, Keyshawn Gilbert, obviously 17.4 points per game. And then Owen Freeman, the Hawkeye leader, 16.8. So kind of on that same realm there. But the way Iowa State plays, we don't necessarily usually have a guy run away with the score, if you know what I mean. In general, it is pretty even. Like we play a pretty like 15, 14, 13, 20 type of game. Everyone's kind of on that same level. We don't have one guy go for 40 necessarily. So that doesn't surprise me. And then assist wise, Keyshawn Gilbert, 5.5 assists a game. Hardig for the for the Hawkeyes, Brock Harding, can't read. Is that guy for them, 6 foot 165 sophomore. So I just look at this game and all I can think is I can't wait to win. I don't think the Cyclones are going to lose this game. I'd be very surprised. Currently the line sits, it just moved actually, per our friends over at FanDuel, to 5.5 Iowa State. It moved in Iowa's favor. It was 6.5 when I started this show, so interesting there. But I think Iowa State's significantly better. I like Keyshawn. I like Momcilovic. I like Jefferson. All the guys we've brought in, we've built up a really, really solid roster. I like this team like a lot, and I think we'll be a Final Four team. But this is a first big hurdle for the guys. Big game. Not because of a big-time opponent. We've played big-time opponents, but because this is such a big rivalry game. In Iowa basketball, it's nothing to laugh at. Like, they are a decent program. So we'll see what the boys can do tonight. I'm taking them definitely -5.5. I would probably take them by about -1 million if I had to. Other things, -1 million. Rocco Becht returning to the Cyclones. That's a fact at this point. We'll talk about that right after this. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's FanDuel #1 sportsbook. Okay, this is big time here. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. As I just mentioned, the Cyclones, 6.5, just moved to 5.5 point favorites over the Hawkeyes. I'm taking that line any day of the week, twice on Sundays. Okay, I love the Cyclones through and through. Obviously, that's why I'm doing this show. And I'm not a big fan of the Hawkeyes, especially the basketball teams. I think it's pretty clear. Number 3 versus unranked. Give me the Cyclones -5.5. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your live bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we got to talk portal. We got to jump into it, if you will. Jump into the portal and I guess I don't even know where would you go? Where does the portal take you? Here to Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're going to talk about some guys coming in, coming out, and especially number 1 overall, in my opinion, Rocco. Rocco is coming back to the Cyclones. It's a big point of emphasis for me, and I don't see how it couldn't be anyone else's, to be completely honest. There was looking, it was looking like, obviously, for one, we talked about it on this show, Anthony Becht might be coaching WVU out in Morgantown, West Virginia, come next year. And in my opinion, that is a very concerning position to put Rocco in. Got a couple comments about, hey, don't be the clickbait guy here. I was like, dude, I'm actually genuinely concerned about this. Like, could he leave? Yes, he very well could. I would not blame him if his dad got a really good coaching opportunity and he can compete for the starting position there. Not saying that he has a better situation in West Virginia. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he is a starting caliber quarterback at pretty much any team in the country, realistically. So if he wants to stick with his dad, if he wants to put family over, the situation we have here in Ames, I'm not going to hold it against him. Like, I don't think that's fair. I think he has every right to want to stick with his family if that's what they end up doing. So I got a few of those comments. I'm like, bro, this is genuine concern coming across. I do not want Rocco to leave, and now it's official. He's going to stay. Got a few different, I guess not offers, but people talking to him from, the SEC, the Big Ten. And I'm not surprised. One of the best young quarterbacks in the nation. We saw that this year. Just full of grit, full of heart. And it appears the heart belongs to the Cyclones, and which is, that is best case scenario. As far as other names in the portal right now, I did see 2 other names leaving the Cyclones this year. This is a little bit unfortunate. The defensive end, Kennard Snyder, linebacker turned D end before coming to Iowa State from ULM, had 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, and 2 sacks this year. So those are some pretty decent stats. And then another one, linebacker Jacob Ellis, a walk-on turned scholarship linebacker, had 41 tackles for us, and he appeared in all 13 games during this season. Ellis is an interesting one. Linebacking core for us this year just absolutely decimated by injuries. So that's kind of going to be a part of the game. The playing time that he receives, things along those lines. What will he get next year? Iowa State obviously looking at linebackers in the portal because, we kind of needed it this year. Would have been a very different year had we not had any injured linebackers. I think that's a fact of the matter. That's a big if. Every team has to deal with injuries, but obviously linebacking core took a shot this year. So kind of weird that Ellis decides to leave, but I guess I don't really. I'm that's his decision. It makes sense when you think about he'll probably get less playing time now that there will be more people in front of him that are no longer injured. I guess so. Shout out to Ellis. Shout out to Snyder for these guys and everything they've done for the program. They're jumping into the portal. They're going to try to head out of here. I'm here with Cyclone Fanatic. That's where my source is right now. And I do have another one I'm going to take a look at for some more names coming in. These are official, I guess, offers that Iowa State has sent out. I don't know if it doesn't say official on this page, so I won't say official. Obviously, we've talked about wide receiver Xavier Townsend from UCF, 5'10", 170-pounder dog. We've talked about him. I'd love to have him on the team. Chase Sowell from Eastern Carolina. I think we talked about him as well. 6'4", 195. Yeah, just can get up over the top. I'd love to see that. Wide receiver Javon Tracy from Miami, Ohio. We did not talk about this dog. 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. Is that how you say that? 206 pounds, 200 years. Whoa, 2 years of eligibility remaining. Definitely not 200 years of eligibility. That'd be certainly insane. First team all MAC wideout that earned 818 yards on 57 catches for 7 touchdowns. Led Miami, Ohio to that MAC championship game. A little bit of MACtion, bringing that into Ames. I don't hate that at all. Like I've said, we have a need at wide receiver, absolutely, with the dual-headed monster Higgins and Knoll walking out to greener pastures in the NFL. Fully deserved, fully, excited to see. I think they're graduating too. Don't know him personally, but that's exciting for them. Shout out. But we do now have needs there. Okay, we have to fill those holes. I also have another report that we offered. Trey, I think it's Trey Spivey. I don't know. He's from Kansas State, wide receiver there. So that would be another big get for the Cyclones. He was really good. We saw it firsthand, obviously, here in Ames and Jack Trice. So I don't hate where our portal situation is right now. I don't know if I'd rather see a bunch of movement, a bunch of activity, and we bring in all these big names, but we also have big names leave us. Or if we have a bit of a thing right now where it's like we don't have a bunch of really big names leaving, like no Rocco leaving, no Carson Hansen leaving. But we're also not bringing in like these just blockbusters either, I would say, just because none of these offers are official. Like I can't tell you who's come in because nobody's been signed. The transfer portal's been open for like 3 days. So overall, I'm just excited to have Rocco back. Obviously, I'm excited to have Matt Campbell back coaching this team. And I'm excited for the Cyclones to dominate tonight against the unfortunately needing to be mentioned Hawkeyes. I mean, we'll put it that way. That being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being here every single day. You're here with Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I wonder, do you guys think that Locked On Hawkeyes is doing a game breakdown? Be interesting to see what he has to say. Until next time, sayonara, Cyclones.